All right, welcome everybody to the VO Dojo 21 questions. I'm Tish Hicks, the Master Sensei of the VO Dojo here in Burbank, California, and super excited to be joined by Kyle Chapel, who is one of the happeningest voices in voiceover. I always love the time that I get to um, see and spend time with Kyle. And super excited to have you here with us.
Appreciate
Welcome,
it. Thank you. Thank you.
welcome. Yeah, you want to jump right in?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, so what's your one word check-in for today, Kyle? Just in this very moment, what's one word that describes your existence at the moment?
Chill.
Really? You? Huh? That's fantastic. Where are you from?
I'm from LA, believe it or
From
not.
LA.
Yeah.
Whereabouts in LA?
I grew up around the King and Crenshaw area. Um,
Uh-huh.
yeah. So in fact, that scene in Training Day where Denzel says King Kong ain't got nothing on me. I grew up basically across the street from there. There's a major street, King Boulevard divides that.
Oh,
So I grew
wow.
I grew up across the street from there.
Very cool. And where do
Yeah.
you live now?
I'm in the valley.
Awesome. Cool, cool,
Yeah.
cool. Excellent.
Mhm.
And what would we know your voice from? I know there's so much.
Um, I'd say Doom Eternal, the video game that
Hmm.
came out in 2020. I play a character named Valen, or Valen. You would know him as the Betrayer
Mm, hmm.
in that game. Uh, God, I've lately I've been in. I was in Hitmonkey season two,
Hmm.
which just came out a couple weeks ago. Grimsburg, that project that John Hamm is in,
Oh, right, right, right.
right? I voiced some characters for that. I was in Archer, uh, the Adams Family 2, the animated movie that came out in 2021. I was in that. Carol and the End of the World. Um, I've been in a DoorDash commercial recently.
Hmm.
Honda, Salesforce. Um,
More.
uh,
What haven't we heard your voice?
I was gonna say there's a couple promos out there.
That's great.
So yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, Ice Cube has a basketball tournament called the Big Three, and I'm in that.
Hmm.
I voiced the promo stuff for that.
Hmm.
There's another basketball tournament called the basketball tournament, and I've been voicing some of that stuff. So yeah, like I do a lot of Fox Sports stuff
That's
and a lot of
cool.
sports
Yeah.
related things. Yeah,
Very cool.
Prize Picks is another thing that you probably would have heard me on recently.
Hmm.
So
Cool.
yeah, a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, that's great. How long have you been doing VO?
Full time. This is my 10th year. Um,
Hmm.
but I started pursuing it back in like '04. So yeah, for about 20 years.
20 years. 10,
Hmm.
10 in the before times and 10 full time. Or
Yes.
10, 10 part time, 10 full time.
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah, there we
Hmm.
go. 20. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's good. One of the reasons that we like to do this is to let people who are on the trail know
Hmm.
that the trail is a long one
Oh yes.
and not everyone springs full blown from Zeus's head. With yeah, so that's really cool.
That's
Um,
rare. That's rare
mhm,
that someone can come in and maybe in 6 months, boom, you're top. I mean,
mhm,
it takes time. It takes time to get to know people and, for them to see you and to like you and then, okay, let's give this person more work and then more work and then it
mhm.
just takes time. It takes time.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
enjoy that journey.
yeah.
Right? Like,
It's true. It's true. And who is your current team? And I'll let you define what that is. It might be representation. It might be, who keeps you going. What does that
uh,
mean to you?
let's say wife, number one, because that's
Wife,
always the
yes.
right answer. That's always the right answer. Um, no, but without her, I don't think I would have been able to get started. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think that I would have been able to just tell someone, you know what, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to start this voiceover thing. right? And don't worry about everything. Don't worry about the rent and bills and stuff. We'll be fine. Yeah, like
It's fine.
right. I mean, luckily we were, but let's
Mhm.
start with wife.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
let's go to my cats.
Mhm.
My two Persian cats is one of them's in the booth with me right now. um uh Definitely like the voiceover community is large, and
Mhm.
but we're also very small because we're a close-knit family. So I'd include a lot of the people that I've met, including
Mhm.
yourself, along the way. Um that I'm very close with, and a lot of people that I'm friends with, they're definitely a part of the team. And
Mhm.
then, of course, the money makers themselves. Can't forget my
Right.
agent at Atlas, my
Uh-huh.
agents at Atlas, my manager, Vinny Biano, um, and my agents in other regional areas like Go Voices and the Talent Group,
Mhm.
and Lisa at Impressive Talent. Like, can't forget about them. So
Yeah.
that's the team.
That's excellent. And that's also what our whole philosophy at the dojo is it's always just you and you never do it alone, which goes
Mm-hmm.
along with it takes a while and
Mm-hmm.
you always have it's always the people that you're meeting on the way that become part of what makes this all happen. So,
Right.
yeah, that's good. And did you start at Atlas or did you start at other places or other agencies?
The first agent I had was one in San Diego. I forgot what it was called. TMN. His name was David Lipton, but I guess he's not doing any
Mm-hmm.
work anymore. But I was no longer with him. I went to 90210 Talent Agency, which I don't even know if they're around anymore. I know
Right, right, right.
they got rid of their voiceover department. I don't
Oh,
know
okay.
if they're
Mm-hmm.
even around as an agency. I have no idea.
Right.
Then I went to CESD, and I was there
Mm-hmm.
for 8 years, and
Mm-hmm.
I just signed with Atlas in March.
Excellent. Good.
Yeah,
Also really nice to know that although you can get signed with Atlas right out of the gate,
right.
may also be a journey to that. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
absolutely.
how long have you had management as well?
2 or 3 years now.
Hmm. Okay. Out of 20. Hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good, good. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right.
Good to know. Good to know.
Um, yeah. Yeah, two or three. I can't remember when I signed with them, but
Yeah.
about two or three.
Yeah. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. And I see your beautiful setup, but what is your setup? What is your setup now?
This is a Neumann microphone
Hmm.
with the Neumann pop filter.
Hmm.
It's actually kind of hanging from the ceiling.
Hmm.
And this, I'm in a custom built booth. This is a booth that was built into my house.
Cool.
Um, and all the hookups and setups lead out to my Mac Pro, the
Hmm.
the tower,
Right, right, right.
and that is connected to a an Apogee Duet,
Hmm. That's what I
which
have too.
feeds right back into the mic.
Hmm. And ta-da!
Right,
And
that's how you do it.
and then in terms of your booth's evolution,
Mhm.
how did you start? What was your first setup?
First setup was a closet. No, no, you know what? No, I'm
Before
thinking when
closet.
I right there was actually a before a closet.
Mhm.
I got like some styrofoam sheets that were
Mhm.
fairly thick, and I just kind of made a box and put a
Uh-huh.
microphone in that. I forgot, it was just a little cheap condenser microphone.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I put that on a small stand, and that was in a box. So
Mhm.
I mean, I'd be reading like this in the booth,
Right, right,
but
right.
um, yeah, like that was my first setup. Then I
Mhm.
went to having a closet
Mhm.
and putting up a little foam there. I actually put the iPad on the wall in the closet so I could
Mhm.
read off of that.
Right, right, right.
Um, then as we moved, I built a booth out of PVC pipe and moving blankets, like which
Mhm.
worked
Mhm.
really well.
Right,
I
right,
mean, I
right.
did
Yep.
national spots out of that,
Mhm.
and from that, now I'm here.
Et le voilà. Good. It's also it's also really, really helpful for everyone to know So we start with what we have,
Yes.
and then we build a career and build a booth in our
Right.
house. Or we get a house because we have a career, and then we build a booth in
Right.
it. Right? Yeah,
Exactly.
that's great. Um, what's your VO origin story? How did you get started?
Psychologically,
Mm, yes, well,
I
always
st-
the most important. Yes.
right. I think I've just been a voice actor my whole life because I've always like
Mm.
imitated teachers or cartoon characters. I mean, you know, in school, like going down the hallway, I would just go, "Hey, kids!" Like I would just do stuff like that. And, I would imitate The Rock. I would answer my teachers that way. Jabroni, shut your mouth! Like I would just do stuff like that in school and annoy teachers, and I wouldn't care. So I think I've always kind of been that way.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
but it never clicked that I could actually do this as a career until
Uh-huh.
my aunt said something one day. She said, "Because you're weird, that's what you should be in, and because you're weird, you should be a voice
Thank you,
actor."
Auntie.
Like, "You're weird, you should be a voice actor, and because you have a nice voice, you should think about broadcasting." Because I also
Mm.
wanted to be a play-by-play announcer for sports.
Oh, so now
Um,
you get to the best of both worlds.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, because, you
Cool.
still get auditions for things where you get to you're a fake announcer, but you still get to do that stuff. I love those are my favorite scripts to get.
Mhm,
So yeah, it's that's brilliant. I love that stuff. But you could even do, like, live announcing, which is something I'm not
mhm.
sure how to get into, but yeah, that I would love to do live announcing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's the origin story. She told me to start thinking about that, like, "Why are you sociology? Like, really? Like, you're not gonna do that in college."
Well, although I think sociology does make sense that that's what you
Absolutely.
went to in an academic world, because that's all people and how do people work and how do
Right.
people work together, and that's what voiceover is too. So it makes
I agree.
sense that your heart took you to the academic version of what us weirdos do for a living,
Right.
and you probably get paid so much more than any sociologist ever does, right?
Oh, after looking at the lists, they give you a whole list in college, like, and they show you, like, what every career makes, and you're like, "Yeah, this sociology
More
isn't one."
dollars?
I mean, one voiceover job makes more than what they could make in a year.
Right.
So,
Right. So
yeah.
so it all worked out. And
Mhm,
so that was the heartbeat. So what was the journey to here? We heard the evolution of representation. We heard the
mhm.
evolution of the booth. What was your journey? How did you get started? And
Well, the hardest part, I think, at the time remember, this is back in '04. So
mm-hmm.
in between like '04 and let's just say about 2010, the hardest thing was trying to figure out how do you get work?
Mm-hmm.
How do you
Hmm.
get how do you even get an audition? And at
Right.
the time, believe it or not, there were actually auditions on there probably still are auditions on Craigslist,
Mm.
where someone's looking for a voice. This is
Right.
before Fiverr, and this was before me getting like a major agent. I
Mm-hmm.
just couldn't understand, like, how do I get an audition? But I
Mm-hmm.
would go on Craigslist. I was looking on Voice 123 because it was not free at the time. I think there was a free version of that at the time.
Right.
Um, but you're just trying to figure out, like, how do I get this? How do I get that? And you're scrambling, looking just for an audition
Right.
until finally I'm like, I need to bite the bullet and just pay for some of these subscription websites like
Mm-hmm.
voices.com and Voice 123. Um, I saw that, hey, I booked a job here, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I could book consistently on here. Maybe I can move up to here. So I went
Mm-hmm.
to the platinum level on Voices and Voice 123 and would
Mm-hmm.
book, more jobs, gain more confidence, thought, okay, let me try to get an agent.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I knew people that had some of these smaller agents, so they would,
Mm-hmm.
contact their agent and say, hey, I know this guy, Kyle Chappell, like he can
Mm-hmm.
do blah, blah, blah. And I would send them my reel and then, they want to take you on. So the regional agents are more willing to take you on without vetting you
Mm-hmm.
so much, or the vetting process is not as
Right.
yeah, isn't as extensive as
Mm-hmm.
a larger agent. But when I landed with CESD, I, you know, Mary Lynn Wisner,
Mm-hmm.
she had her Meet the Agents night. I met
Right.
Samit Iyengar, and
Mm-hmm.
he gave me his card right away after hearing me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But again, it's not that easy. I had to work for all of this. Like I had to get
Right,
to this
exactly. Well,
point where,
you were ready when you met the agent at the top agency
right.
that you were ready and he was able to go, "Oh, hi there. You're
Yes.
ready. You have
Yes.
what we need and you're ready." When
Right.
both of those things, those both of
Right.
those things occur. Yeah.
Absolutely. And how serendipitous, a month before I met Pat Brady, who was also there. Neither one of them are
Right.
agents at CSD anymore, but
Mm-hmm.
Pat Brady was an agent there.
Mm-hmm.
I met her at a workshop. She liked
Mm-hmm.
me. She didn't hand me her card right away.
Right,
But
right, right. But you create
yes,
that what is that called? A critical mass, right?
yes,
You create, and so when it's meeting time, oh hey, I met this guy Kyle Chapel at a thing. I think he's great. Oh,
right,
wait a minute, I heard that guy.
right,
And suddenly you have critical mass in an agency where everyone needs to agree
right,
um, or
right,
be on board. Most people need to be on board.
right.
Sign you,
And
yeah.
right. And at that time that I was looking for a larger agent, I met with Abrams, met
Mm-hmm.
with SBV. Abrams was interested, SBV was not.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like, who cares?
Well,
And
exactly, because it's you don't want to go out with people who aren't interested in you.
exactly, right, right. So,
Mhm.
hey, they're not interested, so just you got to move on.
Mhm.
But CESD was very interested. I can't remember at the time why I chose CESD over Abrams, but
Mhm.
I'm glad I did because just it really turned my career around.
Yeah.
Um, but you I called Samit back. He wanted me to come in, meet all the agents. I met all of them. You record the house reel,
Mhm.
which is
Back in the day.
right back in yeah, right. You
Back in
record
the
your little
day.
house reel, and
Mhm.
which is if the students don't understand, that's like they give you like all these scripts and you read them. So it could be animation, promo, commercial. You read all of that stuff, and then yeah, they keep that as your reel
Mhm.
um, that they have in house. Um, and the agents listened to that. They loved me and they signed me, and that's how I
Mhm.
was with CESD. And then I got with Atlas because I just one of the agents was Vinny Biano, who
Mhm.
is now my manager. He was at CESD. He broke off, started his own management company. And when he started his own management company, he asked me if I wanted to come along. I said, of course I would.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and I asked him, hey, you know what? I want to look into Atlas. Would you mind looking
Mhm.
in Atlas? We looked in Atlas, met with them, loved them, and now I'm with them.
Yeah. Excellent.
So,
Also, work begets work,
hmm
relationship begets
right,
relationship, and now you have all the toys because you're working with your former
right,
agent who now has a
hmm
manager who's
hmm
also so he's got your back, and now all of Atlas has your back as well.
right, right. That's
And
how it
that, yeah.
works.
Hmm.
That's how it works.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yes. Yes. Good, good, good. Um, yeah. What would you say the three top ingredients in your success has been?
Mm, probably look, I'll just have to admit the way that I sound. Okay. I look,
Hmm.
I can't do anything about this. Like, you
Yeah,
know, I
you sound great. Yeah.
there have been times where I'll say about a quarter of the time that I've booked a job where it's a direct session, the person says, "Oh, we love the sound of your voice." Not we
Hmm.
loved your read, not we loved your performance. We love the sound of your
Hmm.
voice. So just whether we like it or not, that's just it's going to play a factor, right?
Yeah.
So
No, it worked out for Cindy Crawford and stuff like that. So
right, right. So um
you're the Gigi of the voiceover world.
I'll take it. I'll take it. Two, I think just experience, you know,
Hmm.
it reading copy over and over again,
Hmm.
over and over again. I mean, we're talking about, you know, doing a dozen auditions a day for weeks after months, years after years.
Hmm.
You're just going to get a copy and you're not really going to see things that are wildly different. You already know what to do. You jump in it. I got this. Bada bing, bada
Hmm.
boom. You're done. Right.
Right.
Um, so I'd say just the experience.
The hands,
Um,
the 10,000 hours sort of thing.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. I calculated it. I think I'm over that now. I think I'm over that. So, but yeah, experience, sound of my voice, and I would probably say work ethic. You
Hmm.
know,
How
um,
would you describe your work ethic?
just a lot of mornings I roll out of bed right into the booth. You
Hmm.
just, or hey, I have an audition due, same day audition. I have to make sure that I'm not doing anything else so I can go jump in the booth and knock that out. Or just being on time with all of my projects, being on time with all my auditions,
Hmm.
um, and just grinding at this, trying to figure out a way that I could, continue to make this happen.
Right,
It takes a lot. So
right. And I think that's an interesting word now because there's so much to grind on now.
yeah,
So making sure that you're grinding so that it gets easier and that you're always focused and put this first. But we don't want it always to be a grind. It always requires, you always need to be on it.
right,
But always am finding this in my own life, and then also as I'm holding the space for people to create a life in this. I'm like, careful of grind. We gotta do the grind, but it doesn't have to be a grind,
yeah, that
right?
makes sense. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's yeah. I love the way you articulate
Because
that.
it can, I think especially now, back when I started, we just went to the agency.
Hmm.
We just went to the agency. You had to drive to the agency and stuff like that, but it
Hmm.
was it was much less grind. And now there's so much that you need to do and be responsible for and da 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 da, that it can be really, and it can really grind you down
Right.
if you're not
Hmm.
finding balance too.
Right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I like to say harmony because balance is like, oh, there's one thing we all have to balance it, and you always have to use your core and stuff.
Right.
But harmony, you can create harmony easily.
Right.
Let all the things go
Hmm.
together. Yeah. Yeah. Um, what would you say was your big break if you think of things in that way?
Maybe it was Doom Eternal because I think
Mm-hmm.
that I had bigger projects. Gatorade was the biggest project I think I had booked at the time in 2016, which was a national
Mm-hmm.
campaign. Um, and around that same time, I booked Buffalo Wild Wings, which was also a
Mm-hmm.
national campaign. Those were very big, but I
Mm-hmm.
think an even bigger break was booking Doom Eternal because
Mm-hmm.
when I first booked it, I thought like, oh, Doom. Well, that sounds familiar. That's probably not the video game that I remember, but that's pretty big. So, audition and you go in and read for it. And a friend of mine was like, wait, you were in Doom? I was like, yeah, what's
Mm-hmm.
the big deal? Like,
Right,
I
right,
was like,
right.
dude, this is a
Like
huge
it's
game.
hard?
Right. Right. But I didn't think it was that Doom because I just hadn't
Uh-huh.
booked anything like that yet. So
Right, right, right.
once I did like that was like, okay, you know what? I know what I'm doing here. I'm ready for this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go. Bring on anything at this point.
Yeah,
Bring on
yeah.
anything.
That's cool.
But
That's
so I
cool.
would say in between Gatorade and then Doom.
Hmm.
Those are
Those
the
first
two
big
biggest ones.
national campaigns, and
Hmm.
I do think that that's something else that I've noticed in my work begets work. You start going like, oh, I can
Yeah,
handle that. Oh,
yeah,
I got that.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
then sometimes producers and directors they bring you back in because they liked you for this.
yeah.
They can use
Hmm.
you for this. It do-
Exactly.
don't bank on that,
No,
right? Because
but
yeah, but it could
but don't
happen.
be asshole to people.
Yes, absolutely.
Like,
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think you might have answered this question along the way, but how
Hmm.
long from starting VO to making it your full-time living?
About 10 years. I'm sorry, that
10 years.
is so unprofessional.
What'd you
um,
do? I didn't even know.
on my phone went
Oh,
off.
I couldn't even hear
Okay.
it. Um, yeah. Okay, so t 10 years. 10
Yeah, 10
years
years.
before you made your full-time living as a voiceover.
Yes. Now that was because I kept going back and forth on whether or not I really wanted to invest the money and time into it. So,
Interesting. When you
that
made the decision. it
Oh,
happens. Yeah.
snowballed. It just snowballed after that. Once you go after it and say, you know what, this is what I'm doing. I'm waking up every day. I'm gonna send out this many emails. I'm gonna do this many auditions. I'm gonna grind. I'm gonna go to workshops. I'm gonna meet people. I'm gonna do. Once you do all of that stuff, it should start snowballing in the right direction.
Right, right, right.
Um,
That's interesting. So you'd
yeah.
made the decision to follow your auntie's advice,
Hmm.
but then you really, well, and I mean, I think the other thing is that everybody's on their own gestation period. So for
Hmm.
you, it was 10 years before you were like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Do you think that if you had made the decision earlier, it would have happened earlier?
Oh yeah.
Oh, oh
Yeah.
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 Durr.
Yeah. Yeah. It,
Durr.
it it just was going back and forth. I mean, I would probably say that money was a bigger obstacle than the commitment, because I really didn't want to get started unless I had something like a Neumann. It
Oh, interesting.
right. I didn't want to make that full commitment until I had like everything ready to go, because I knew I
Interesting.
could do it. I would listen to the
Mhm.
radio and like you'd hear somebody you know voicing a commercial on the radio, and I'm like, I can do that.
I can do that. I
Like,
can do that.
that's not that
Yeah.
hard, but
Hmm.
yeah, like uh, when you start investing into it, you're going to get something out of it.
Hmm.
I believe that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, so yeah, had I
What,
gotten started sooner, would have happened sooner.
and what sort of things did you do while you were getting there? I know I did all the actor things prior to moving to LA, and then had I worked as assistant, then I worked as started my own graphic design firm. Like, so what were some of the things that you did as you were like from 2004 to 2014? What were some of the things that you did as well?
I had a job at a call center, um,
Hmm.
asking people about movies and how many times they've
Hmm.
been to the movies and stuff like that. It was
Hmm.
a This was for Nielsen's rating group,
Hmm.
um, which was yeah, that job sucked. um, and it didn't have the connections that I thought it was going to have.
Hmm.
Um, but then I became a courier, and I was a
Hmm.
courier delivering stuff actually for movie studios, which
Hmm.
or like if a DVD, not a DVD, if a VHS needed to be converted to DVD, I
Hmm.
was running that from the post production studio to the actual studio,
Hmm. Hmm.
and just delivering all kinds of stuff for the studios. But I was doing that for a
Hmm.
while. But again, didn't really have the connections I thought I would. Every now and then I'd go into I thought or I would go into a post production studio, like a very small one, and I thought that okay, maybe I could ask someone, but your mind starts getting baffled. I'm like, well, I don't know what to ask, and who should I
Right,
leave my
right,
demo reel with? And I did leave my demo reel with a couple people, but it never really turned into anything because it was
right,
always hard trying to put it all together.
right, right.
Like
Hmm.
what does it take? What do I do?
Right, right, right,
And then they would ask. Sometimes I would be asked a question like, okay, well, what's your home setup like? I don't really have one right now.
right,
Like,
right, right. Exactly.
so yeah. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah,
Interesting.
I was a courier for a long time, and then I switched courier jobs. I was a courier for delivering medical supplies,
Hmm.
and that paid way more money than delivering to the movie studios. And
Hmm.
because of that, that job was done at night. Because I was doing that at night, that gave me time to look for voiceover work during the day. So
Hmm.
everything I
So you
couldn't
started
audition
making
for,
the segue. You started making the segue of
right?
this pays more money, so I can spend more time. I'm getting more money, so I can get the equipment that I need,
Hmm.
and started giving you the
Right,
structure of the time that you needed to run your voiceover business by day.
right.
Yeah.
Because it's an investment. It's an investment. It really is. Like look, you're gonna have to spend a dollar to get a dollar in this
Or
until
yeah. You're
right,
starting a business.
right,
You have to have money to start a business. Yeah.
right. And it costs money just to own the business, which you know,
Hmm.
that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like once I was able to free up my daytime to work at night, that's when I started booking some of those smaller jobs, and
Mhm.
then I got to where I got to,
Right. Nope.
doing it full time. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Cool.
that's the
Cool.
journey.
Yeah. What are you proudest of in your voiceover career?
I own a home.
Yeah.
I own a home in LA.
Yeah, no, no, no. It's nothing to be shy about. You've got a great
Right.
voice, and you have a fabulous career, and you own a
Yeah.
boy. I feel that it's a big moment when your voice buys your house.
I think so because, you know, that was a culmination of the entire journey, you know.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
mean, there's still other things I want to do and other places I want to go,
Hmm.
you know, when you first get started and you know, I would even go to Google Images and look at home studios and see other
Hmm.
people's, or if there's a rare time in the early days of YouTube when maybe someone would show their video, their home studio,
Hmm.
you're just dreaming of all this. Like, damn, this
Right.
is what I want to do. I want to have a home. I want to build my own studio in the home, or at
Hmm.
worst, have a studio bricks or something like that.
Right, right, right.
And I
Hmm.
just want to do this in my home, at home all day. This is what I want my career to be.
Yeah.
Um, if I'm not going to be going places, and now because of COVID,
Hmm.
most of the stuff is just at home. You know, I
Yeah.
mean,
It's
like,
amazing how much it shifted, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, 2018 and 2019 were pretty busy for me, and I remember going out quite often for
Mhm.
CESD after COVID. Like, I've probably gone to a studio for commercial work 3 times
Yeah.
since 2020.
It's
Um,
crazy, isn't it? But
and
you work just as much, right?
yeah, I've booked hundreds of commercials since then.
Mhm.
So to only have
Yeah.
left the house for that maybe 3 or 4 times is insane.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Um, what on the other side of this, what is your biggest fear or challenge in your voiceover career? Either ongoingly, currently, ongoingly, previously. What's your biggest fear or challenge?
Currently, it's probably just like, what if I get sick and can't do it anymore?
Yeah.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's that's the biggest fear.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know, I'm where I want to be. I'm doing what I want to do. I don't want this to change. That's my
Mm-hmm.
biggest fear. I don't want to ever get sick.
Yeah.
And
I
you
just
know,
read I just read Rob Paulson's book.
oh,
Um,
okay,
he talks about the journey of
yeah,
having it all and then having throat cancer. So,
yeah.
yeah.
No, that's probably the biggest fear. I don't necessarily think about it, but
Yeah.
that would be a fear.
Yeah.
And prior to getting into VO, the fear there would be times where you would flip flop between, am I good enough,
Mm-hmm.
or do I have to meet people? Like, because that's always the hardest part. Like, I don't know how to do the little chit chat and small talk and all that stuff. I don't know how to stop and chat. I'm very Larry David like. I just I can't do all of that stuff, right? Like,
Mhm.
I can't,
Mhm.
you know, I can't schmooze and lie to people, and that's what I thought it took to, you know, really get into this. So I was really fearful of that.
Mhm.
Um, I don't think that there was as much fear with like, am I really good enough? I knew that I could do at
Mhm.
least one part of it. I knew that I could do
Mhm.
commercial. Like, I'm like, I could do this. But when it came to everything else, like animation, I was kind of worried. Like, I
Mhm.
am I good enough at that? Like,
Yeah.
like, what do you need? You know, have I had enough time? Have I had enough experience? Like, how do you get into it? Do I have to schmooze? That would be
Mhm.
a big fear of mine. It's
Yeah.
really the connections, and I don't know anyone. I live in LA, but I don't know anyone in LA
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
So that was probably the biggest fear before getting into the career. And now I'm just worried, like, am I going to die in 12 days? Like, you know, like, and just not have this anymore. Like, that's my biggest fear now.
The existential fear. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it is true. It is true.
Yeah.
It's something we teach in our beginning course, the you should do voiceover launchpad. It's one of the first things that we talk about. There's external equipment, which is your recording studio, which you
Right.
need. And then there's internal equipment. If your voice isn't working, you're not working. And
Right.
it's real, it's true.
Right.
So
Yeah.
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 Okay, I know the answer to this because I remember the first time we met, but
Right.
are you an introvert or an extrovert?
Definitely an introvert. What I've what I have noticed is, like, since COVID, I miss
Mhm.
people.
Oh,
What
that's
what happened to all our workshops? What happened to all these things? Like, where is everyone? Like, but I lean towards introvert. Like
Yeah.
you know, if I'm in the house for like 5 days straight, I won't really notice that I've
Yeah.
been in the house for 5 days straight. Or if I've been out all day, finally I get home, that's just, oh, clothes come off and oh, finally I'm home. You know,
Mhm.
I just love home. I love being at home.
Yeah.
Love hanging with my wife and cats. Like I just
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
very comfortable life at home. But I've there's a slight shift towards being an extrovert. Slight,
Mhm.
but but it's there. But it's there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. Well, I think it's something else that as people are beginning their careers to be able to recognize in ourselves. And I think the beautiful thing about this business and this way of, as voiceover becomes your way of life,
Mhm.
that if you are an extrovert or extraordinarily extro, or if you are an introvert or extraordinarily introverted, there's parts of this business that require that. And if you're extroverted or extraordinarily extroverted,
Yeah.
there's parts of this business that require that. So we all have to kind of find that place.
Yeah.
Like if you're, if you're comfortable alone in your booth, that's where we all spend a
Yeah.
lot of time.
Mhm.
And you got to go meet people and you got to be able to build
Mhm.
relationships.
Right.
I love, and it makes total sense that you feel like you're someone who's not capable of
Right.
bullshit. And
Mhm.
that to me is like, well, of course you have a fabulous career because you're incapable of bullshitting because you
Right.
just tell the truth, share your truth, say the
Right.
truth. And I think that's ultimately what builds a career
Right.
because that's how you make honest relationships with people when you make
Right.
that connection. And then there's also comes in your work too. You're not
Right.
like, hey, razzle dazzle,
Right.
hey.
Right. Right.
Like that is probably, what people respond to. So that
No,
makes a
it's funny you say that because when it comes to your especially commercial reads, I've heard people who have booked big animation gigs say that they just struggle with a
Mm,
natural commercial read because they
mm.
can't use a natural voice. Not to say that they're a bullshit or anything
Right,
like
no,
that.
no, no, right.
It's just that when I look at commercial copy, I immediately know like, okay, I can be myself. And even if
Hmm.
I'm like, even if deep down inside I felt like I was a shitty person, I feel like I can just do that in the copy. You know, like like that may not be right for the spot, but I feel like I can just do that because I'm
Right,
just gonna
right,
be
right.
myself, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
yeah, we're faking, but I know how to just be myself with these words.
Right, right,
And
right. Exactly.
right, no
Mhm.
matter what mood I'm in, I feel like, I can just do that with this script and I'm good.
Yeah.
You know.
And there's a
And
vulnerability. Like one of the things we talk about at the dojo is share your
okay.
truth. And
Mhm.
there's a vulnerability in sharing your truth.
Yeah. Mhm.
Inherent vulnerability. So
Right.
yeah. Hmm. Yeah. And you were going to say something else. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Wait, was I?
Maybe, maybe.
No,
Yeah.
I think yeah, your true tell or that's what Dave Walsh, yeah, Dave Walsh teaches,
Mm-hmm.
the true tell method. How to give a natural read and just be yourself. I think that's vital to a lot of this. You know,
Mm-hmm.
even in animation or video games, that's still
Hmm.
there. You
Yeah,
still,
exactly.
like, okay, I'm getting hit in the head with the mallet. I mean, how would you react to that?
Hmm.
You you know, give your truth. What
Right.
is your truth in that? Like, what would it be like to get hit in the head with a mallet? I mean, you don't have to put on a voice or change your voice. Like, I think that's critical. Be yourself. Be
Hmm.
yourself. It'll go a long way.
Yeah. Yeah. If you could do voiceover from anywhere, where would it be?
I'm living the dream.
Right
I'm
here.
living the dream. I love it. I'm from LA. I'm born
Mhm.
and raised here. I love it here. I'm not going anywhere else. There's no other
Fantastic.
place.
That's lovely. What would you say your VO motto is if you had to put it on an emblem or a coat of arms?
Can you read this?
Fuck work, make money. I love it. There you go. On a coaster, no less. But say
No,
more. What's fuck work, no make money? What does that mean to you?
this is not work anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this
Mm-hmm.
dude, I'm having fun. I get to do this. I get to do this. Like I get to do this. Like, you know, I don't want to because I don't want to make it seem like I'm bragging, but you know, I have friends that aren't living their dream yet, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm glad that I'm living mine, you
Yeah.
know, and as
Yeah.
much advice and as much help as I can give, you know, not everyone can do it. So
Mm.
I really appreciate this. I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
work. I want to keep doing what I'm doing and making
Yeah.
money. Like I just I love this. I love
Yeah.
what it's given me. It's given me a chance to help out. Like I've helped out my family a lot,
Yeah.
you know. So I love this. Like I love this. Like I really do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um
That's great.
the
And I
other
think,
side, just real
oh,
quick,
yeah,
the
no,
other
go ahead.
VO model, the other VO model would be I don't give a shit. I
Mm.
really don't give a shit about the pressure and the specs and all that stuff. You give me the
Mm-hmm.
copy. Look, I know what I'm doing. I don't give a shit. I'm gonna read this thing. I got it. You know, those would be my two models.
To get to the place, yeah, where it is just
Right.
what you do. It is
Mhm.
just what you do. That's great. And I think there's something also about having make money on the coaster.
Yeah.
I think that there's something I think that there's something sometimes because it is such a transcendent transcendent thing that this thing
Mhm.
is, that it allows us to connect to ourselves, it allows us to have fun, it's joyous, it's easy,
Right.
it's hard and it's easy, right? It's
Right.
not easy, but it doesn't have to be hard. That's what we
Right.
say here.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think there is something about, and I do it for money. That's another first thing that we tell people. Here's the two reasons to do voiceover: love and money.
Yes.
Both go together. You can't, don't do it for one, don't do it just for one, don't do it for the other. But love and money, and you can
Right.
have both.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, even if it's even if you may be thinking like, well, isn't that kind of greedy? Okay, well, think about what the money's going to do.
Yes.
I'm in a booth right now that was built. Like this costs
Mm.
money. Like
Exactly.
this was not free. The two by
Exactly.
four, the insulation, the
Hmm.
all this foam. Do you know how expensive this stuff is? This microphone, like these headphones, like all I'm looking at a monitor right now. Like you're on a monitor that's in the booth. The camera that's in the booth, like that's
Hmm.
all money. Oh, by the way, I had to have a whole HVAC system that's running through this. You know, like I got
Hmm.
the HVAC running through the house. There is an intake in the booth and the vent that drops the air down.
Hmm.
The intake is so that the I don't even know what it is
It's
what it
quiet.
is.
So it's
Right,
quiet, right?
right, but
Yeah.
it makes it yeah, it makes it quiet in here. Um,
Hmm.
you know, like you know, I'm paying money so that I keep the lights on because I need electricity to do what I
Yes,
do.
exactly.
Um,
Because you're
you know,
running a business.
exactly. So
You're running a business. Yeah.
it you know, you need the money so that you could invest it back into your career. And yeah, you're
Hmm.
using it for other things, obviously, but you need it to continue to invest in your career. It never stops. I have two assistants. One does my
Hmm.
invoices, one helps with looking for work, you know,
Hmm.
or making connections and, you know, trying to bridge
Hmm.
that gap so that I don't have to like do all that social stuff.
Right, right, right.
Right.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
you know, but yeah, it just takes money, man. Like it takes money to
Running a
run this.
business takes money. Yeah.
Yeah,
And we
absolutely.
don't go into business to not make money,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Unless
Yeah.
you do a not-for-profit, and even that takes money. So,
Right. Right. Right.
yeah. Yeah. Hmm. What's a typical day in the life of um Kyle Chapel VO?
So most days it is now because Atlas's deadlines are pretty early. They're 9 a.m.
Hmm.
CSD was a little bit later in the day.
Hmm.
But Atlas is like right at 9 a.m. So most of their auditions are due. So I roll out of bed right into the booth.
Hmm.
And so I'm just knocking
And
those out.
you prefer to do it in the morning rather than in the evening.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Definitely.
I do
I
that too. Hmm.
yeah, I just I can't once it's the evening, I'm just in a uh Verizon Wireless, we never stop working. Like, I just don't want to do it anymore. Like, but yeah, no, I'm much more of a morning person.
Mhm.
And then for the rest of the day, it's same day auditions or any gig that pops up, you knock
Mm-hmm.
that out.
Right.
Any sessions or gigs, you knock those out usually later in the day.
Do
So that's usually what
you
the day
usually have
consists of.
multiple sessions a day, or how does that flow for you?
Yeah, multiple sessions a day. They're not all directed. So
Mm-hmm.
some of them will be,
Right, right,
hey,
right.
just read this promo or read this
Mm-hmm.
narration piece or something like that. But yeah, usually multiple sessions a day.
Mm-hmm. And then
Yeah.
when do you knock off?
It usually starts slowing down around 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Stuff will come in, but I usually like to save that for the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 or 3 is usually when it starts really slowing down.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say I'm pretty much done by 4 or 5. Like that's when all
Mm-hmm.
the gigs, sessions, everything's done, basically
Right.
around then.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll get most of your auditions in the second half of the day. But
Mm-hmm.
like I said, I saved them for the morning
You
because I
queue them
just,
up for the morning,
yeah.
yeah. Mm-hmm. And then in terms of you have a team, so you're not doing that work, but then you have to manage that team as well, right?
The assistants that I have,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's mostly remote, so I
Mm-hmm.
only have to check in maybe like once a week.
Oh, okay, cool, cool, cool. It's not a
Yeah,
big
and
problem.
then right, and then they have access to like my email, so they'll kind of take care of things. But usually I'll
Mm-hmm.
check in. Usually I have to answer questions.
Mm-hmm.
So even though you're not in the booth all day,
Mm-hmm.
there's still stuff you're doing. You're
Yeah.
still I never I'm doing this all the time. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is happening all the time. This is happening a lot during the day because you just never know what's going to come in. I mean,
Right,
I've
and you
had a
have to be on it, right?
right. I've
Mm-hmm.
had a session at like 2 a.m. before,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes it's an overseas client. Sometimes someone is like weirdly in a hurry at midnight. I don't know why.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I've had late sessions, but you're constantly looking at your phone because you have to just deal with things. Sign this
Mm-hmm.
NDA, sign this paperwork, get this back to
Right.
me, do this. Like it's never ending.
So last question.
Mhm.
Knowing what you know now, what would you say to yourself at the beginning of your voiceover career?
That thing you fear lasts just a few seconds. On the other
Mm.
side of that fear is glory. It really, it really is. So, I would have told myself, just look, I know you fear being broke, but who cares? Just go into crazy debt because it will be worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Sign up for every credit card possible, beg your bank for the highest limit possible, double your workload if you have to, but jump into this thing because on the other side of it, you won't believe some of the stuff that you're actually going to book.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I would dream of what I could book, I still don't believe what I booked. You know, I really don't like I was in that. Like I got a chance to be in that. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
I also didn't know ADR existed.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know anything about that. So even auditioning for it the first time, I'm like, what the hell is this? What am I doing? Am I
Yeah.
just repeating what this file says? Like, okay, I'll just do it 3 times. The guy jumped off the building. The guy jumped off the building. And then next thing you know, like you get a call, like you go into the studio and you actually do this. Next thing you know, your voice is actually in Black Panther or Spider-Man Homecoming
Right,
or
right,
Fast and the
right.
Furious. Like it's actually like it's crazy. So
Yeah.
on the other side of that fear is glory. So what you fear, that little fear, the thing you're afraid of, it's only gonna last a little bit, you know?
Oh, so beautiful.
Right.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
most people don't realize that. Just go ahead, jump through. I know the fire. I know it's hot. Just jump through it. You'll be fine.
That's
Jump through.
amazing. That's amazing. Oh my gosh, Kyle, it is always such an inspiration and
Thank
joy to
you.
get to spend time with you. I'm super
Appreciate it.
excited that you'll be joining us for Ask the Sensei.
Can't wait.
And yeah, yeah. So thank you so much for taking this time and sharing your stories and your insights. It's all like, mwah. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. So,
Appreciate it.
cool. We'll see you soon on Ask the Sensei, and we'll be answering other people's questions now
Awesome.
that
Can't
we have
wait.
your answers. So, good, good, good. All right, we'll see you soon.
All right. Take care.